In today's Leeds news, Bamford on Gracia and his future, Leeds eye free agent, and productive night for Leeds' young crop. Morning folks, Ger here on Friday morning, the 11th of October with your Leeds United news at The View. I hope you're having a good week so far. Last night on the first part of the two-part podcast this week, we covered the summer transfer window being graded now that we are into October and have some data behind us. That's available on the channel if you want to check it out. And tonight we'll be doing a second part of that where we look at the players who've left the club and see how they're getting on at their clubs, and did we do well out of those sales or have we been screwed over? We'll find out later on. In today's news, there's a little bit of stuff floating around. There's stuff about Patrick Bamford. He's been talking to the 72 podcast. We've got some possibilities of a new signing coming in very shortly. And we'll start off with Patrick Bamford's situation. And he's talking about the time when Javi Gracia was at the club, and then he also spoke about the possibility of considering leaving Leeds United. When Javi Gracia came into Leeds, it started off really, really well, although his entire period at the club could be described as short, weird and unsuccessful before Leeds went for the Hail Mary punt that was Sam Allardyce that didn't work out in the end. Leeds had won 3 of their 6 games under Javi Gracia and were looking in a decent position before the half-time Crystal Palace happened. The wheels fell off the wagon of Leeds' survival hopes at that point, and Javi Gracia in the next 5 games, specifically Crystal Palace and Bournemouth, lost his job at Leeds United. The half-time at Crystal Palace will always be talked about. It sticks out as a moment in time. Leeds were conceding just before half-time in that game, and then all hell breaking loose in the second half, and Leeds getting absolutely smashed by Crystal Palace at home. Patrick Bamford said nothing happened. Lots of other players have insisted that nothing happened. It just was what it was. But now, speaking to the 72 podcast, Bamford believes that Javi Gracia could have been a success at Leeds had he been given more time. Bamford said, "It was a breath of fresh air when Sam came in. It was after Javi Gracia and I got on really well with Javi and his staff. I felt a little unfortunate for him because I felt had he been given more time with us, he had the right ideas and would have got us well drilled." Now, at that time, there were talks that some players weren't happy with the lack of detail going into the starting 11, going out onto the pitches from Javi Gracia, and that was a factor that caused some of the results that Leeds had. Bamford not necessarily agreeing with that, but Bamford also spoke about the potential of leaving Leeds United at a moment in time when he considered it was after the relegation from the Premier League. Not because Leeds were relegated from the Premier League, but because of what happened afterwards. As we all know now, Bamford missed a penalty against Newcastle, he had a moment against Leicester, and at that time it was the moment when the fans turned up outside Patrick Bamford's house to confront the striker, which, as we all know, is a massive red line and you don't cross that line, but it was crossed. And on that situation and what his thought process was, Bamford said the following: "I wouldn't say it ever made me want to hang up my boots and finish football. I'll know when the time is right for that. But at that point, when I knew my family wasn't comfortable here, being honest, at that point, I wanted to leave. I wanted a fresh start. I wanted to get somewhere where it was a new start for me and my family. Something fresh, and it was just normal, as easy as that might sound. But it wasn't until sitting down and thinking about it that I had to make sure my missus was okay with it. I would reassure her that this wouldn't happen again and put measures in place to stop this." He went on to say that it was a tough call for him at that moment in time, and he spoke to people and friends and family and players over the course of the summer, and he decided to stay put. He said that after speaking to people, it became clear to him that leaving Leeds at that moment would be the easy way out, and he didn't want to take the easy way out, so he decided to double down. Unfortunately, since then, Pat's had more injuries again and might be just a victim of what happens when you play for Marcelo Bielsa for an extended period of time. Just the body breaks down afterwards. We've seen it with a couple of people like Liam Cooper and Luke Ayling for a period of time, as well as others. But it's completely understandable that at that exact moment you would consider selling your house, moving town and leaving the club. And if you're in a job, imagine trying to explain to small children why there's a load of people outside your house threatening your father. It's a really tricky situation. It was done, it's been dealt with, he's still here, but he's explaining his reasoning for it. Moving on to a potential signing for Leeds United in October, and this is a strange one to be in the situation we're in, but we've talked an awful lot about it in recent weeks, that Leeds may dip into the free transfer market in order to fill the gap left by the injuries to Ilya Gruev and Ethan Ampadu. Ilya Gruev's injury, apparently according to the Bulgarian manager, is significantly worse than we thought, and he could be out for up to 5 months, and he could potentially be missing the remainder of this season. According to the Yorkshire Evening Post, Leeds have been feeling out some candidates and are considering making a move. One of those said options is Czech Kouyate, who the former West Ham United, Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace central defensive midfielder is available on a free transfer right now. Kouyate has been without a club since his release from Nottingham Forest at the end of this season, but without a wealth of experience to a very young crop of players that Leeds have right now, and Daniel Farke has talked about the lack of experience and leadership in the dressing room with a very young side. He's now 34 years of age, he'll be 35 years of age soon, but he's made 300 Premier League appearances and 92 caps for Senegal, so he would definitely add some experience in the dressing room. Leeds now also find themselves in a position without Ethan Ampadu, and losing the club captain means maybe there's a lack of leadership at times on the pitch, and that's an area that Kouyate could also add some missing elements to. Former Nottingham Forest manager and current Leicester City manager Steve Cooper spoke about Czech Kouyate's attributes and what he can bring to a team when he signed for Nottingham Forest, and this was what he said to the Nottingham Live at the time. Czech has great experience in the Premier League, and he's a big voice in the dressing room. He's a fantastic character, a great guy, very happy, but very committed as well. He's a real man's man in terms of leadership. He's been around a long time. His position with Leeds would be very much cover on the bench. Fine, no issue with that at all. He would definitely add central defensive midfield, cover that Leeds don't have right now. There's also been some rumours yesterday, and these are very much rumours at this point, that the player is already at Thorpe Arch and has been going through a trial or doing his testing at this point. So we could hear something soon on this, but it might be a case that it could be a couple of days before anything comes out, or until next week's press conference. They might not make a big deal about this signing because it's a free transfer, and it might only be till the end of the season, likely. But we'll keep an eye on that one. We'll get you more news on that when we get it. And moving on to the final piece of today, and a very, very productive night for some of Leeds United's players out on international duty, especially the young crop. Last night's internationals shone a light very much on some of the Leeds' current young stars, and one that maybe got away. Last night marked a very successful starting debut for the Spanish under-21s for Mateo Joseph. They beat Kazakhstan in their game 4-3. Mateo Joseph, in his very first start for the country, scored a first half hat-trick. All very poacher-like 6-yard box finishes from him, but they're the kind of goals we expect to see Mateo Joseph score for Leeds, and they're the kind of goals we think, if we can get our fullbacks and wingers putting regular crosses in, we'll see from Joseph going forward. But a really, really good performance from him. We've talked before about the Spanish national team manager also talking about fast-tracking Mateo into their first team, maybe looking at a player, if things go well for him, who could lead Spain's line come the World Cup. Another player last night that had a really, really good night at the office was Leeds United's on loan midfielder Darko Jota, who's at Plymouth right now. He scored a long-range effort for the England under-20 squad last night in their game, a cracking goal, along the ground, across the keeper from distance. Really, really good finish by Darko Jota, who's having a very good season at Plymouth so far this year, and looking all the player Leeds United thought they were getting when they bought him. Whether he makes the breakthrough remains to be seen. It's still a big step up, and we'll have to see on that one. Moving on to another player who was on international duty last night, and one that we're all keeping a very close eye on, and that's Ayling Tanaka, because Leeds can't afford any more midfield injuries. Leeds have a game with Sheffield United next Friday, of which Ayling Tanaka will only arrive back for the final training session of. So what minutes he plays over this week and next week will be very keenly watched by Leeds fans to see if he gets back in one piece. We're lucky. Good news, last night Ayling Tanaka was an unused substitute for Japan, which would then beg the question of why bring him in the first place, why not let him stay back. But he was unused last night. He'll likely be used during the week, but it's hopefully be minimal amount of minutes so he can come back in for the game on Friday night sharp and fresh and ready to go. So we'll keep an eye on that one as well and see how he gets on. But that will be it for me today, folks. Massive thanks for supporting me all week. It's been a tough week with numbers because of the international break, but I really appreciate everyone supporting the channel this week and going back and watching the content. And we will be out tonight again with a live stream with myself and Lockie, probably about 5 or 6 o'clock likely, to cover the players that left Leeds and how they're getting on so far this season. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. See you. Bye.